It sits on my desk.
Incredible. Look at you. Look at you.
Insane.
All right.
You know,
Just
my
push this
seltzer's still
live.
nice and cold in my.
Oh my
We're,
god.
we're, li-
Push this
we
live.
are live?
Oh my.
Shit.
Merry Christmas, everyone! How's it going? It's another Living Force. It's going to be a roundtable. Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil, the complete, unabridged, oh my god, it's so long edition. We are so excited to talk about that. We had a little bit of break in Star Wars just to go over. We had a bit of a fun weekend. All that and more coming your way. Wes, look at your stream deck, find the button, and punch it! Welcome into the Living Force, a UTD Network podcast all about Star Wars books and the guy who's been here since the beginning, Thrawn himself. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Eilerson, and joining me tonight to talk all things Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil are the boys. You know them, you love them. We start with Dr. Corey Helton. What's up, dude?
Hey, I got a new camera, kind of. It's actually just my phone, but there it is. But it looks nice. Look how nice I look. I mean, you know, it's like that Zoom
so
filter
nice.
you can put on yourself so it, like, you know, hides your blemishes. I don't have that going, but, you know, just pretend I do.
Obviously.
Well, let's pretend you can't see all of Corey's blemishes, guys. Don't mention it. Stop it. Stop. Be nice. Be nice. Try to be just as nice as just the lovely, nice man, Dr. Charles Hankel, sitting in front of a fire. Hey, bud.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna do the Fat Albert intro, but then Corey stole it. So I have nothing else to say. What do I do with my hands?
Just let him stick there. But you know who would tell you what to do with your hands? Who would tell you what to do with your life? Who would have the wisdom beyond his years and beyond all ages? Wes Jenkins.
There is only one more option, and it is I. And Charles, I am very jealous of your fireplace that you have, and you have a tree, and I just have blinds and the book that I finished.
You got the book. You finished it
days ago, friends. So really excited to talk about it.
Absolutely. This is a whole new year. We're ending 2021 by reading the books. All of them. Before we get going any further, though, of course, as always, make sure if you're watching us on YouTube, hi, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to us on a podcast platform and you haven't given us a review yet, you know what? It's the holiday season. It's the season of giving. So go ahead and give us that review. Give us that 5-star. If you don't think it's a 5-star podcast,
just stay off of iTunes. Yeah,
don't do it. And you know what? We'll try to do better. But we appreciate you all. And because it's the end of the year, a reminder that the Utini voting is open for the 2021 Utinis. Go over to utini.com, find the article, or click the link in the description in the doobly-doo down below. Make sure you get your votes in by Christmas Eve. If you don't know what the Utinis are, go to last show, or the last episode of your podcast feed, episode 141. We went through all the nominees of our book of the year, of our social media butterfly, of the best comic, all that good stuff. Your vote does matter. And 2 weeks from tonight, we will be giving away the 2021 Utini Awards. Stay tuned for that. All right, a couple things. Before we get to, and the URL would be helpful. Go to utini.com/awards. That's awards, plural, utini.com/awards. We'll get you right there. And that link that Wes just dropped in the chat will take you right to the voting ballot. So this weekend, y'all, I did a little fun thing that I haven't done in 4 years. I went to C2E2, the Chicago Comic-Con and Entertainment Expo. I usually go there for comics. I go there to see artists. I got a couple cool sketches. I got to meet some great people, including Chase, that gay Jedi from Serving Pink Milk. I saw Laura from Force Toast, where there was hugging. There was vaccine card mandates and masks. It was great. But I did go there for one very specific reason, and it's to get the picture that we're about to show up here on the screen. I got to meet, in person, the chosen one himself, Mr. Hayden Christensen. There's a picture of me losing my... I had no chill, wearing my Utini shirt.
You're about to explode.
It was crazy, because there was a piece of plexiglass you can see in the picture, but they do a great job of, like, hiding it. But I just, like, went in, and like, all right, you can take your mask down, and I went up to him, and I'm like, hey man, I'm so glad you're back. And he's like, oh man, thanks so much. That's so nice. I'm like, okay. And there's like a picture. and then I'm like, bye. And he goes, man, it was great to meet you. I'm like, it was so good to meet you, chosen one.
It's like from a
cool.
Christmas story where Santa asks him in the department store what he wants for Christmas, and he freezes, and he's like, "The football, yeah, football."
The elf like pushes him down the slide. It's the best part of that whole movie. And he's like, "Wait, no, you're the chosen one. I run a Star Wars company. Yes."
It was just wildly cool, and they give you like a digital print of it, of course, that I will hang in my home later on. But it was amazing. It was all the people in line where everyone was nice, everyone was in order. It was just everyone freaking out to meet Hayden Christensen, and that feeling of the Ahmed Best like standing ovation was how it felt to be in that line. And we all got our pictures, and it was just great.
It looks pretty happy, genuinely. Now, after all this time, I mean, I've seen pictures of him at other conventions and stuff, and he doesn't look like happy. Like
he seems so. It was, I mean, stressful environment because it's like go, 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 and he was just cool as a cucumber. Cannot wait. Loved that. But of course, I had to do a little business. Of course, while I was there, guys, had to rep the brand. So I didn't just go meet Hayden Christensen. I also met Light of the Jedi writer, superstar, comic writer Charles Soule. Went over. He was doing a signing. I bought his new comic, 8 Billion Genies. I bought his book, The Oracle Year, and of course, told him how much I loved his Star Wars work. And y'all, coolest moment of the day, second coolest, Hayden was obviously number one. But I walked up and he said, "Oh," he saw my shirt. He said, "Oh, you T-Need, is that you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the president of the company. We run it." He's like, "Oh man, I love what you guys do." He has never been on the show. We have never emailed him. So that was just an amazing moment of
that is pretty rad.
him knowing who we are, and that felt incredible.
Yeah.
You know, we are coming up into 2022, and like I've been obviously pushing this a lot in some of our internal channels at Utini. Every year we like really push like planning and goals, and like I feel weird about it this year for some reason. It's like I feel like we are finally in a recognizable space. Like we're like kind of past that we're not just breaking into the community. We're kind of there now, I feel like.
We got all these lovely people watching right now. We got all these people listening. Like we see you guys, and it's amazing.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And for Charles Soule to be like, "Oh yeah, Utini, I love you guys." That's like what we're here for, man. I love that.
Yeah.
I want people to feel that we're having a positive impact on the community, and that's awesome. That made my day when you shared that in our channels, Eric.
And I hopefully means that Kevin Scott, Daniel Jose Older, and Claudia Gray all actually had good times in the show, because that High Republic Slack would have flamed us if they didn't. So super happy about that. And then one more shout out. Speaking of community, there's a great fan art community of Star Wars. And today I shared on Twitter the first piece of Star Wars fan art I've ever commissioned. This digital painting from Uzuri Art over on Twitter and Instagram of Loden Greatstorm. I commissioned this a while back, and I just told them I want Loden Greatstorm, and I want like I paid premium for a complex background. Oh, this is what I got, and this is a freak. Put this in a museum. I was blown away. This is Loden on Elfrona with like the little the horse that he's on when he shoots the cannon, and just looking regal. Like this is exactly the character I've imagined in my head.
It looks like a book cover, 100%.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It looks like an out of print variant. Yeah, so just a shout out to Uzuri. Go follow them on Twitter. Follow them on Instagram. They do commissions. They have a huge commission list, but they're super communicative about deadlines and about when I could expect things. They wanted to make sure I got what I wanted. Clearly so in love with Star Wars. Knew exactly about all the High Republic. Yeah, go support digital art, especially in the holiday times. Commission some art for your friends and family if you don't have a gift yet. It would be perfect. But you know what else would be perfect? Speaking of gifts, speaking of giving things, what's perfect is our Patreon community. We want to say thank you to Dan Humphreys, who jumped on the monthly Patreon train this past week. Thank you so much. We hope you are enjoying the content. Given the holiday schedules, a few of our Patreon shows, such as Ghost Crew and Cafes, have been pushed back scheduling a little bit. Some are taking breaks because of life. Some are getting back on track. Some are still recording all the time. We got a Star Wars Archives just did another episode on Sunday. They recorded that we can't wait for. But we hope you are loving everything. We hope you're loving the commentaries. We say this a lot. We are legit getting together to talk about the Rogue One video commentary date this last month. It was insane. It was insane.
Holidays
you've
are hard.
earned it.
They're always hard.
They are hard. We'll do the best we can, and we also love you all. Thank you for your support. Head over to patreon.com/Utini. see what you can get extra, see how you can help support the show so we can keep making this content. And honestly, at this point, I think it's safe to say most of the dollars that we get are going to go towards our showing and celebration next year. It's coming soon.
Yeah.
It's coming soon. So we cannot wait to see you there and help us kind of make that the best experience possible for everyone. All right, let's do a very quick one topic Star Wars Weekly Roundup.
It's the Star Wars Weekly Roundup.
All right. This week in the Star Wars community, there was one piece of news that overshadowed everything. That's not a pun, but you'll understand why it is in a second. At the Game Awards, we got a brand new announcement, a brand new reveal of a new Star Wars game called Star Wars Eclipse. There was a new trailer. It was one of the most visually impressive looking trailers in the history of media. I'll just straight up say it. And we want to share our excitement for it in just a second. Before we do want to address the company that is making the game Star Wars Eclipse is Quantic Dream. And if you've been on Twitter or in the gaming space, there's been a lot of talk about people that are higher ups at that company and allegations and misconduct involving a bunch of bad behaviors. A lot of our friends over at like Pink Milk and other places like that have done deep dives into a lot of their content because there have been remarks made by the CEO especially that hurt a lot of communities within our Star Wars community, like the LGBTQ community, people of color, women, all those things. All of those things are available on the internet, and everyone is going to react to them as they will. We are choosing, I guess, for the most part, to be excited about the game because there are so many people making this game, and hundreds of them are great, amazing, passionate people. There are, unfortunately, as in a lot of industries, people at the top who are total jerks and who are very inappropriate and should not be allowed to have freedom in these kind of spaces. But personally, I am choosing to buy Star Wars Eclipse when it comes out and also take the price of the game and donate it to an LGBTQ plus charity to show them that I love you and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is there, because taking a few cents away from a CEO is not as impactful to me as giving money to a nonprofit organization. So we just want to get that out of the way. We're not going to have the big conversation about David Craig and all those things here, but I do encourage you to search out those conversations for people that can speak far more eloquently than we can. Now, for the content itself, Star Wars Eclipse came out with a cinematic trailer that was accidentally leaked like half an hour before the awards. But I want to read the description real quick, and then, guys, we're going to go through some screenshots, and I just want to hear what you're stoked about this game. Star Wars Eclipse will be an intricately branching action-adventure game that can be experienced in multiple ways, putting the destinies of an array of playable characters in your hands. Your choices will be at the heart of the experience, as every decision can have a dramatic impact on the course of the story. Through these decisions, players will forge their own legend in the golden age of the Jedi. Star Wars Eclipse is currently in the early stages of development, and of course, the biggest deal of all, yo, this is a game in the High Republic. They're making a High Republic video game.
The hell, holy
happening.
crap! I mean, this is like the biggest thing ever. So
I never really thought that they would do a video game before they did like a TV show or an animated show.
Yes, exactly.
Like
Yes.
that.
no way.
We
Yeah,
thought
not in a
video
million
game would
years.
be
There's no way. I
last
never would have
level.
picked this. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
No, and like, when the trailer first dropped, obviously our Discord, our Slack, Twitter, everywhere blew up with, oh my god, it's a Star Wars game. Oh my god, it's a High Republic game. But y'all, the visuals of this trailer, like it's better than the films.
It
The
was
dude
I
with
mean,
the
it's a-
monkeys? The dude
I
with
know,
those little
dude.
green
Yeah.
monkeys? Oh
It
my
looks like-
word.
It looked exactly like Jeddah, like 100%.
Yes,
Like it looked like
yes.
live action CGI. It was incredible. Like, yes, it's a cinematic trailer. Of course, we realize this is not gameplay footage.
Of
Like
course.
that's not a thing, right? Although they did reveal Unreal Engine 5
Five. Yeah,
last
but that Matrix
week,
demo
which-
that looks
which
like
look- It looks
Yeah.
like that game.
We're
But
getting
anyway, that's beside the point. This trailer is insane. Wes, don't you have a bunch of screenshots that we can throw up? Like
Absolutely.
yeah.
this
Let-
the
see what it
game
looks
does
like.
not it does not look like
Look at this.
anything we've ever seen before.
If
Like
this
this is just
open world right here. If this was Battle Royale, dude, right here,
Oh my god.
every man for himself.
Fortnite, we about to get down. Doing kills on the board
Crazy.
right now.
it's crazy.
This
The whole
was a great
trailer.
shot.
It was
Yeah.
the ship like falling apart. Mando
Yes.
vibes, hardcore.
Yes.
There's your
This
little
guy
green
with the
monkey.
green monkeys.
3 eyes.
Yeah.
They have 3 eyes.
They got 3 eyes on a little red nose.
Maybe does he have 3 eyes also? Look at his glasses. I didn't notice that. He's got that weird thing in the middle. It looks kind of like a third eye almost.
Just Greedo to the left, of course.
Yeah, and all these pictures we're looking at, by the way, if you go to the Quantic Dream Star Wars Eclipse website and you sign up for the newsletter, you get access to like the fan kit, and that's what this is. That's where these are all coming from.
I would love that blanket in the back, by the way.
The textures are just out of this world.
Yeah.
Like none of this is real. None of this is real.
Tell me this is not a real shot. This is a movie shot. Look at this.
Yeah, dude.
This looks like live action, dude. I mean, I don't think any of us watched this trailer and did not have a split second of hesitation of like, is this real? Is this real footage? Like, is this real? Like, it's impressive. It's very, very impressive.
Ultimately, Charles, what are we looking at?
I mean, I don't know what that. It's like a giraffe-ish type creature with like just this gorgeous landscape behind it. I don't know even how to describe it. You really have to see these images for yourself. If you're just listening
God's
to
thumb
this,
from Holes.
okay, yeah. There's onions at the top of there.
If only
This
the
next
woodpecker
one,
cried.
next
The
one,
bark on.
I got
What
legitimate
is dark
goosebumps.
as the sky.
All right. Aside from Holes, which is
All right, here we go. This is the most iconic shot in the whole
Yes.
freaking trailer. Is
was
absolutely Yoda in the Jedi Temple in the council chambers, looking off across Coruscant. Like,
Isn't
Yeah,
that man
it's
on
golden
sabbatical?
robes.
Man.
Revenge
are
of
like
the Sith. Oh my god,
those are like golden Jedi High Republic robes. It is, and it's amazing because the trailer, you know, we didn't get much about what's happening. There was drumming. We saw what we assume might be like the bad guys that was like doing this big beat, and then we saw Jedi flying all over the place. Kind of just a mood trailer, but this is absolutely the golden age we've read about in the books. Like it's peaceful, it's serene, but also has that little bit of darkness. Like literally in this shot on the left, it's darker over on the left. The sun is setting, or is it rising? Like what's going on?
Yoda's hair is blonde instead of white. Can you tell?
Oh, don't do that.
He's in his party boy times.
He's got a nice comb over. It's interesting to me. I want to know, where are we within the High Republic? Like, where is this in relation to what we've
feels late.
read?
It feels late because there are Trade Federation ships.
Yeah, it feels closer to Phantom Menace than it does what we're currently getting in the timeline.
Possibly,
but
also it's all possible.
We also don't really know what the High Republic Initiative is going to do in the timeline. Like, are they going to cover like the whole like 300 years or so? Because they certainly could.
Yeah, right. Maybe like we don't. Oh yeah, here's those guys you're talking, Charles, from Jeddah, the priests that were both in the Charles Soule Star Wars. No, Kieran Gillen, sorry, Star Wars run, I believe. On Jeddah, and they were in Rogue One as well. Like that could have just been a shot from Rogue One. You told me that, I'd be like, yeah, of course it is.
Kind of resembles Pikes a little bit too. Just
it
with
does.
those
Yeah. But again, tying the universe together. And is there? Here's our Nemoidian guy. Looking as good as a Nemoidian can.
Is there a shot of the android people, guys? Is that a thing?
The android.
I'm talking about?
No, I didn't get that one. Sorry.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, there was all those soldiers at the end of the trailer that are marching. Like, I really want to know what that is.
Oh yeah. I was like, okay.
Oh, this crazy shot.
This
like,
shot,
what the heck?
the two lightsabers, obviously gold sabers for me. Anyone that knows me, anytime I see something gold, I'm freaking out about it. But a gold saber, the blue saber, kind of looking like Game of Thrones, though.
Yeah, and a lot of people talk about that curved hilt on the left too.
Yeah, I've seen that too, like Dooku's hilt.
Bad math in the hilts that are curved.
Yeah. I mean, and then, honestly, I thought this was the Nihil when we first saw it that they were fighting off against, but who knows if the Nihil are still around? I mean,
That's a good point.
It could be anything. And I don't know if we have a picture of this, but there was also, speaking of the lightsabers, the moment of the Jedi dueling on, like, the glorious temple grounds. Like, that people are like, is that Vern? Is it Bell? Like, what's going on? Just absolutely gorgeous. Just gorgeous stuff. I can't believe that this is happening, and I cannot... I just can't wait to be in the world of the High Republic.
I know. I'm still very unclear in how this is even possible. Like, you know, there is a lot of rumors saying that this is probably 3-4 years out still, which is fine.
Early stages of development,
right? Far enough along that they have a $1 million trailer, but that's beside the point.
Seriously,
like maybe this was an Old Republic game originally, and they sort of flash converted it to a newer or a High Republic. I don't know. I don't know how this happened, but I'm here for it.
Oh, speculation, Corey. Like getting rid of the Legends of the Old Republic game. And
I know.
adding the canon of the High Republic.
I'm all about
Yeah.
that, man. Like, I would love to see some of the stuff that we've seen in books and comics and stuff brought to life in a video game. Like, we've never
Yeah.
seen that happen before. So that's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's also interesting because the studio itself is known for games that are more like interactive movies than like straight up like action adventure games. This says an action adventure game, which
It does.
sounds more like Fallen Order, but their games like Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human historically are more like cutscenes that you're making decisions during more so than actually active games. So I'm excited to see what that balance is, because obviously if it's cutscene stuff that you're making decisions in, you can go for higher graphic quality because they don't have to map out as many movements that you're going to make. But action adventure would probably be more fun. But like you said, it's probably earliest 2023. But I assume now at Celebration, maybe we'll get more. This is like 5-6 months down the road. Maybe we get a little something else, but very excited for that. Again, as you want to buy it or not, it's going to be your decision on what you want to support. Make sure that you know, regardless of what you decide, the people that are being heard, make sure they know you love them. Send some love to some people, celebrate some Star Wars, and most of all, love those three-eyed monkey things. They're really fantastic. But even though you can't play that game soon, you can read books soon. And make sure you go to utini.com/ I don't know the URL. Go to our new releases calendar. Is it /new releases?
Yeah,
Okay, it's /new releases. You got to get those pre-orders in for the Fallen Star. Speaking of High Republic, it's coming in like 3 weeks, y'all. I know that's soon. It's really soon.
Yeah,
It's
hit that
actually
link in the
release
description.
schedule.
The very last link in the description is all our new releases.
Yeah.
Go get them. Get the pre-orders in. Supply chain is still a thing, and you want your books. Whew. All right. Now, for everyone that has been watching so far that has not read Thrawn Alliance's Lesser Evil, Thrawn Ascendancy Lesser Evil, sorry, we love you. Have a great night, or have a great rest of your jog or work day, whatever you're doing as you're listening to us. Because when we get back from the break, we are going full spoilers on our Part 1 roundtable of Thrawn Ascendancy Lesser Evil by Timothy Zahn. So have a great night. The rest of you, stick around. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, it is Eric, president of Utini and co-host of The Living Force, which you may be watching right now, here to tell you about something that's going to make the holidays a bit easier. We have made a new website for you called utini.gifts. Now, this is a website that is based around the fact that shopping for Star Wars fans is very hard. We like a lot of things, don't like a lot of things. So we at Utini have made some curated gift guides for you to make shopping for those in your life a little easier, and to make shopping for you a bit easier for people in your life. So whether you want Star Wars apparel, you want collectibles, you want stuff for gamers, you want stuff that's only featuring the child, you want stuff for your office, kitchen, what have you, we got guides for you curated through sites like Etsy, through sites like Amazon, through anything you can imagine. We have scoured the internet for really fun stuff. Head over to utini.gifts, that's gifts plural, like things you're going to find under the tree. Get shopping today, get anything you want for the Star Wars fan in your life, and let us know what you think. All right, and as a reminder, folks, that is utini.gifts is still up and live for all your last-minute gift-getting needs. We only got a couple of weeks till the holidays, so make sure to get those in for the Star Wars lover in your life. All right, Charles, this was only fitting that we ended 2021 with the most daunting task of just sheer volume that we've had. It is time, finally, for the third book of the third Thrawn trilogy, Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do it. Star Wars Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil Roundtable. We're going to start this with a plot synopsis like we always do. Heads up, what you're about to hear is chronological. All right. So this is following the exact timeline in universe, not how it was laid out in the book, which has some interspersed memory chapters. Get comfortable, guys. Get yourself a little hot chocolate, something like that, because we're going to be here for a few minutes. Here we go. In an earlier time, Thrawn meets Thrast, a myth syndic, to be welcomed into the myth family. Thrast is impressed with some of Thrawn's peculiar skills and is tasked with ensuring Thrawn does not get reassigned to the Stybla family, who is interested in him. In the process, Thrast realizes he genuinely cares for Thrawn. Over the years, the bond between the two Chiss grows. They begin to work as a team. One mission in particular helps to cement their partnership when they're asked to recover a stolen item for the Styblas. At a key point in this mission, Thrast refers to Thrawn as his brother to gain a tactical advantage. Upon succeeding in their mission, the object they recover is revealed to be a piece of a legendary weapon called Star Flash that the Stylus discovered in lesser space thousands of years before. It's described as an energy weapon that fires into a sun to create a massive expulsion of energy, destroying everything around it. The weapon was used once before by the Chiss to defeat an alien army invading the Ascendancy. Afterwards, its existence was kept a secret from all but the patriarchs and their senior aides, who passed down that secret to each subsequent patriarch. However, firing the weapon into Chila's sun caused it to weaken, and this is why Chila is ice-covered and why the Chiss have moved underground. As thanks for Thrawn's success, the Stylus set up a ceremony to add the honorary suffix Odo to Thrawn's name. At the ceremony, Myth Patriarch Thrawn divulges that he had hoped Thrawn and Thrast would form a team after noting their complementary skill sets. Thrast and Thrawn discuss their bond and realize that while they are not blood relatives, they do in fact consider each other brothers. Years later, Thrast meets his untimely demise aboard a crashing ship, thus bringing his partnership with Thrawn to an end. Jumping ahead in the timeline, just after the battle for the Nyx mine between the Chiss families and Greater Good, Thrawn travels aboard the Springhawk to the planet Zyzek, based on a hunch. There he finds General Illyrius Nakire, leader of the Qilori Illumin, accompanied by the mysterious Jixtus with a small force of amassed ships. Thrawn puts out a call, and despite Jixtus's warnings, Nakire answers. He reveals that he seeks to spread Qilori enlightenment throughout the galaxy. When Thrawn rejects his offer of enlightenment, Nakire vows to destroy the Chiss. Jixtus, however, warns that they must infiltrate other species before taking on the Ascendancy. Back on Chila, Supreme General Bakif is summoned by the Stybla family patriarch Lamiov to the headquarters for the Universal Analysis Group, or UAG, a group responsible for collecting, guarding, and studying alien technology. Bakif is asked to inspect new tech that Thrawn has returned, which he believes can predict when ships will exit hyperspace. Bakif is appalled to learn that Thrawn has the Magus, an alien matriarch, in a hibernation chamber aboard the Springhawk, and immediately authorizes him to return her to her home planet, Sunrise.
I love doing these roundtables because it's so obvious who is read versus audiobooks and different things, because everyone has different pronunciations, especially of Thrawn. All right, continuing. Elsewhere, Arlani and her crew return to the final Nickar base and discover ships trying to dismantle it. Arlani succeeds in chasing them off and sends a boarding party to investigate. New Myth Patriarch Thurfian meets with Sistalmu to discover their ongoing plans for Thrawn's downfall. His senior aide Thyvik grows concern for Thurfian's priorities. Caretaker Thalius is then approached by Thyvik, who gives her a message left to her by ex-Patriarch Thuraki. She isn't told what it is, only that she'll know what to do with it when the time is right. Jixtus reveals a massive Grisk warship, the Fate Spinner, to Nakir and makes it clear that the Grisk are the masters of the Qilori rather than vice versa. He then travels to Ascendancy space and begins offering Chiss families a holo that appears to show a stage fight between the Zodlak, the Daskalo, and the Irigal families. He claims it's evidence of a new alliance that threatens the power of balance in the Ascendancy. Roscu of the Klar family is one such Chiss approached by Jixtus. She presents the holo to her patriarch and is ordered to further investigate. The expansionary defense fleet is placed on high alert due to Jixtus's appearance, and ships are mobilized to better protect the Ascendancy. Cheery begins having nightmares about the destruction of Sunrise, despite never having seen the planet. Thalius and Thrawn grow concerned that the Magus is somehow communicating with her from her hibernation chamber. The Springhawk travels to Rapak and happens upon Qilori forces about to clash with a Nickar ship. Thrawn provokes the Qilgis and easily defeats them, but one ship escapes. It's revealed that Ungali, Thrawn's Pakian ally, is commanding the Nickar ship, which he took over in service of his own people. In the aftermath of the skirmish, the Chiss notice a single escape pod that was launched and capture it. Aboard, they find none other than Qilori of Uandualon, who had been navigating the Qilgis under orders from Jixtus. Thrawn forces Qilori to use his hyperspace abilities to follow the escaped Qilgi ship. Thrawn hatches a plan with Ngali aboard the Nickar ship and sends the Springhawk back to the Ascendancy. He intends to provoke an ally by Jixtus. Oh my gosh, there's so many alien words in this. I'm sorry. He intends to provoke an attack by Jixtus that will convince the aristocrat to fight back, but he does not wish to incriminate his entire crew. Shortly thereafter, acting Captain Samacro is alerted that the Springhawk is lost. He confronts Thalius, who reveals that Cheery was secretly following Thrawn to Sunrise rather than returning to the Ascendancy as ordered. She's so terrified by the visions of the Magus ascending her that Samacro obliges. Around the Ascendancy, skirmishes begin breaking out between the families. Rosku's Qilori ship is ambushed by what appears to be other Chiss ships, but the attackers self-destruct when they are defeated. Arlani, Bakif, and Zayenda, formerly known as Lakinda, which totally threw me off in this book, by the way, realize that aliens must be counterfeiting Chiss ships in an effort to incite conflict. They realize that the Nicardoon base may have been responsible. However, Rosku is convinced her family's biggest rivals, the Daskalo, are responsible and begins touring their worlds, looking for evidence. Bakif then sends Zayenda to prevent conflict from breaking out between the two families. Thrawn, aboard the Nicardoon ship, arrives at Sunrise to find the escaped Kilji ship alongside a Grisk ship. A battle ensues, and Thrawn and the Pakash are able to chase off the Grisk. They are also able to gather some intel from the Kilji ship before it's destroyed. The Springhawk then arrives, but Thrawn quickly sends them back to the Ascendancy with their new intel.
Arlani meets with Yiv the Benevolent in a Chiss prison deep underground. She convinces him that he was betrayed by Jixtus. Yiv agrees to give up all the information he has on Jixtus and the Grisks, but only in return for exile. In her attempt to incriminate the Dasklos, Rosku is nearly killed by a Grisk missile launcher disguised as an asteroid. However, Zayenda is able to save her. Rosku is scalded by her patriarch for failing to expose the Dasklos and reveals that he has made moves to empower the Qilori family. Rosku discovers a huge fleet of alien warships and realizes that her family is working with Jixtus. After a narrow escape, she realizes that her family is headed toward ruin. Back on Sunrise, Thrawn successfully takes over the Grisk mining colony. He surmises that Sunrise's true prize was not the Nayaks, but rather the Magus due to her ability to touch the beyond. He believes Jixtus hoped to use her ability to help win wars. Qilori reports Thrawn's actions to Jixtus, who believes Thrawn is trying to use the Magus for the Chiss. Using the information she received from Tharaki, Thalius visits a secret facility called the Seeker's Shade House, where Skywalkers are trained. She hopes to get answers from its director, Borica, about Cheery's connection to the Magus. Though Borica attempts to brush off questions, Thalius eventually reveals that she knows Borica is actually Thrawn's sister. Borica tells Thalius about a process called fading, the intentional erasure of all of Skywalker's memories that is performed to keep them under better control by the Chiss military. Before Thalius can learn more, she is urgently ordered back to the Springhawk. She tries to convince Borica to come along to meet Thrawn, but is refused. As more fights between families break out across the Ascendancy, the expansionary defense fleet forces are recalled to Napirar. Thrawn goes to the UAG and alerts Lamiov and Bakif to Jixtus's plan. He requests access to alien technology to help him stop him. Thrawn then sends word to his most trusted colleagues, imploring them to rendezvous with him rather than return to Napirar. Arlani, Zayenda, and even Rosku answer the call. Thalius and Samacro go to Thurfian in an attempt to get aid for Thrawn, but Thurfian refuses. Understanding the severity of the situation, Thalius pulls out a concealed weapon and threatens Thurfian to get what Thrawn needs. The Circle of Unity, a gathering of the 9 ruling families' patriarchs, takes place. Thurfian convinces the patriarchs to send forces to Sunrise to bring Thrawn back for judgment. The Magus escalates her tactics and entirely takes over Cheery's body to speak through her. She predicts a horrible battle which can only be won if she uses Cheery as a conduit to see the future. Samacro threatens to bombard Sunrise, and the Magus relents. Qilori returns to Jixtus to guide the amassed Grisk fleet to Sunrise for the final battle. However, upon arriving, they discover the Chiss fleet floating dead in space.
All right. Jixtus believes to have found the aftermath of the Ascendancy trying to apprehend Thrawn. He reaches Thrawn out in the comms, who tells Nakir that the entire Kilji kill horde has been eliminated by the Patatas. Nakir blames Jixtus and tries to attack him, but Jixtus kills him. When he does, all the Kilji vassals on the ship collapse. Suddenly, the entire Chiss fleet comes back to life in a maneuver that they had been practicing for days. Thrawn offers Jixtus a chance to surrender, but Jixtus instead takes an escape pod to the Fate Spinner, leaving Qilori alone on the dead Kilji ship. A tremendous battle commences. The Chiss employ a gravity well generator that Thrawn took from the UAG to manipulate the movements of ships, but Jixtus is able to figure it out and stop them. In a key moment, Vat Combine and Garwian Unity fighters suddenly appear from an asteroid cluster nearby where they had been lying in wait, like very Han Solo. They help turn the tide of the battle in favor of the Chiss. Jixtus realizes the battle is lost and attempts to escape the system, but Qilori moves to stop him. He commands the Kilji vassals back to attention and declares himself their new master. He orders the ship to fire on the Fate Spinner with all its power. The Fate Spinner is disabled, and Jixtus is defeated. He offers a final threat against Thrawn and the whole of the Chiss Ascendancy, but then all of the Grisk ships self-destruct. In the aftermath of the battle, the main characters find themselves acclimating to a new normal. Rosku has become a figurehead for the disgraced Klar family. Thalius and Sherry return to the Seeker's Shade House with Borica in an attempt to understand her connection to the Magus. Sam Crow is promoted to Senior Captain and given back command of the Springhawk. A tribunal is held and Thrawn is sentenced for what are considered crimes against the Ascendancy, including unprovoked attacks and military alliances with other alien species. He loses his position in the Expansionary Defense Fleet as well as his status as a merit adoptive in the Myth family. He is then sentenced to exile on an uninhabited world to spend the rest of his days. Afterward, Bakif reveals that Thrawn's fate was actually his idea. While he knew exile would appease the aristocra and spare the remainder of the involved Chiss, it would also plan to allow Thrawn to continue his fight against the enemies of the Chiss Ascendancy. While Thrawn will be cut off from the Ascendancy, he will have the opportunity to seek out General Skywalker in the new Galactic Empire, where he can continue working on understanding and eventually overcoming the Grisk threat. The end. And then the Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah. I want to quote something that is at least attributed to Harrison Ford when he said infamously, "You can type this crap, George, but you can't say it." That's how I feel
Oh my God.
about reading the synopsis.
Mark Thompson needs a raise for all the Thrawn books. He's double the rate.
We were talking right before the show of like the audiobook. Like, I have never read most of these words because I exclusively listened to the audiobook this time, and like I had to like. This freaked me out.
Yeah.
In my brain, like I could not process a lot of the stuff that I was just saying. I'm like, who the hell are these characters? Oh yeah, like put the words. It was ridiculous. That's weird. Oh man.
Well, as we're coming down from that, I hope that was helpful. That was for sure the longest synopsis we've ever done, but that was roughly 4 pages of a Google Doc. That was almost 600 pages of a book. So that's about as good as we could do. Now, I want to hear what y'all think about this book. I want to go around. Let's rate it 1 to 10 as we always do. And with 30 seconds or so, give me your supporting argument, why you're giving the score that you are. Let's start this time with Wesley.
Alrighty. So I finished this book yesterday, and I put off listening to the last 15 minutes for probably an hour because I listened to it and I played it back, and then I was doing something and I played it, and I keep hitting back the 30-second button because I listened to most of it. I read the beginning of it. But I finally got to the end of it, and oh my God, it answered a lot of questions that I had after reading Thrawn, the original Thrawn canon book. So, I mean, character development in this book, amazing. Just the new characters that they brought on, and then the ones that they kept throughout the trilogy and made them important throughout was great. And then just the hook and the twist at the very end, I thought was great because I thought it was going in one direction, and even though it was the same outcome, it went into a completely different direction. I love that part. So, having said all that, I would probably give this book, it might get it might get my highest rating that I gave this year.
Oh.
I want to give it a 9.7. I really, really like
wow.
the end of
Very
Great
good.
start.
I loved
Okay.
it.
Wow.
All right. That's incredible. Eric, what do you think?
All right. I like Wes's idea. I'm gonna say why first and then end with the score. That was fun. It's like a review. I think this is the most Thrawn book, the most Zahn Thrawn book of the series so far.
Yeah.
In a great way. I think that this is the most untethered we've seen Zahn. I think this book rounded out the trilogy in a really kind of brilliant way, and I've never read a book that is such a momentum read. When I started it, I was reading it digitally in small spurts, and I had a really, really, really hard time getting into it and focusing, because every time I started, I felt like I had to get about 10 pages in to get back in the rhythm. But when I felt the book in my hands and I sat down and I committed to reading, I blew through the last 300 pages. Like, not in one sitting, but like so much easier. And just watching the machinations of Thrawn at the end, I saw the character Zahn has been wanting us to see for years. He's not too overpowered, but he's absolutely the smartest in the room. I know what he cares about. I love all the Spring Hawk crew. I love Thrast, which we'll talk about a lot. I just thought it was probably the best one in the trilogy, which, again, if you go back on my ratings, this may not link up because I emotionally rate and I own that. But I will give this book a 9.4. Very, very impressive. Very great book. I somehow still want more, even though it's done.
Fantastic.
All right. Corey, what do you think?
Man, I think you're right. Eric, this is definitely Thrawn's like dissertation. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Zahn's dissertation. I'm gonna do that. I do that every
You've been
time
doing
we
that
do
for
Thrawn.
3 years, man.
3 years, man. I mix up
Own
the
it.
words Zahn and Thrawn. I mean, yeah, here we are. This is his dissertation, man. Like, this book is like, he really got to stretch and flex like in this book. Like, I mean, it felt like the most hardcore Zahn book we've ever read. Like, Thrawn, if you don't feel like you understand Thrawn after having read the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy, then you clearly missed the point. Like, he's like one of the most well-developed characters in any books that is out there. Like, we understand his morality, his values, why he fights. Like, is Thrawn a villain? I don't know. Like, there's so many questions. This book was really, really rich, man. Like Wes, I also did mostly the audiobook experience with this one. Mark Thompson is brilliant. Like, his characterization of everybody is very, very good. His voices are very, very good. You recognize the characters from the voices alone. It's hard to go back to normal audiobooks after listening to Mark Thompson do Star Wars books. I did something a little different for this one because I wanted to be objective about my score. And because, like, last week we were talking in Slack and I was like, I think I'm going to give this book a 10. And I was like, nah, I got to quit doing that, really. like, really, I got to quit doing that. I mean, we don't even have a 10 on our website, guys. Like, even, like, we're into the Sith is 9.9 on the site, right? We don't even have a single perfect score. So I did something different, and I like took paper and I like went through how we review books with originality, writing, entertainment, plot, characters. And my average is a 9.4 also, Eric. So I think that's what I'm going with, 9.4.
Man, we should get you on the review team, Corey, if you actually read the books on time. That'd be great. That sounds awesome.
Like Wes, I also
will
finished
never
it
be
last
on
week.
that review team.
Oh, man. The other thing, the other last point I'll make, the other thing that I always carry forward with me into roundtables is like, how anxious was I to finish the book? And Wes and I talked at one point of like, if you listen to the book in your commute and then like you get home after a long day of work and you sit in your driveway for like 5-10 minutes to listen to the book, that's a good sign. All right. It's a really good sign.
You guys were in it.
Yes, and I found myself really wanting to listen to this audiobook. And by the way, the audiobook is 23 hours, so like you have to be committed to listen to the audiobook.
Yeah, so along those lines, I was listening to it yesterday. I finished it around 7 p.m. and I like to multitask when I'm listening to these audiobooks. So I mowed the yard yesterday, and then I couldn't didn't want to put it down. So I made myself do something else in the yard. So I dug out these roots that I had in my flower bed that needed to come out. That took an extra 30, 45 minutes just so I could keep listening to the audiobook.
That's fantastic.
In that outside setting to take it in better. It was great.
That's cool. I never thought about that. Hey, Charles, bring us home.
Yeah, I agree with everything else said. Really, all the points he made. I won't belabor them. All I'll say is that I was really blown away by how much story Zahn was able to pack into this trilogy, considering we knew where at least Thrawn needed to end up, right? Like it was very Star Wars in that aspect, right? Like we knew where things were going to end up. We got through Thrawn's story in a very jump around way, not just with the memory chapters interspersed, but also with starting with the first canon Thrawn book, doing all the stuff with the Grisk in the future, and then jumping back here and getting through that whole story. Really incredibly done. So I agree with y'all. I did not write things out on a yellow legal pad because I do not own one of those.
It's a mini legal pad, and I bought a pack of 10. All right, shut up. All right.
Let me know. Get back to me when you finish using all 10 of those.
For like 10 years, dude.
You're gonna use the first page of all 10 of them.
That's very true.
I will give this book a 9.3. That is a gut feeling for me. But again, all nine or above is. I think that's something that doesn't happen too often. Usually, one of us is a little...
Eric, do you know what our official score of this book was on the site? I'll pull it up. You don't remember off the top of
I don't remember off the top of my head. But while you're pulling that up, Corey, I just want to... This is an inner outline, and it might be at the end of the round table, but I might be jumping ahead because I don't read the prompts because I like to be surprised. Do you guys think... Because I'll say I do think this. Is this the best Thrawn trilogy? And I think it is. I think the Ascendancy is the best overall average quality trilogy of Thrawn.
It is. It is. 9.2 is our official rating.
Okay,
8.8 for plot, 9.2 for characters, 8.7 for writing, 9.6 for entertainment, 9.5 for originality.
Yeah.
I don't know why I went through all those individual points, but 9.2.
That's okay. 9.2. So us and the company as a whole, from the whole review team, 9+. And that's pretty incredible. Just
to be clear, Eric is on the review team. Just to be clear, like the company is a lot better at rating books than we are. just for the record, like they have a much more objective and really well thought out. We just kind of like 9.5. Yeah, right. So
like Corey's little legal pad description there is basically what we do on a larger scale. We go like repeatedly when I write the reviews, I try to take in all the things. And
just to be clear,
I don't
the thoughts and opinions you hear on this show do not officially represent the views of UTini. All right,
the rest of us are not on the review team, so we're just throwing stuff out there. All right, so let's jump into characters, y'all, because we got to talk about Thrawn. That's who we're going to start with. Who else would we start with? Somehow, here we are at the end of the third trilogy, featuring a character first introduced to Star Wars in 1991, y'all. And I'm willing to bet, just like Corey said earlier, those of us who have read all that material probably feel like we understand Thrawn better than we ever have before. So I'd like to give y'all a few quotes, as we've been doing with recent roundtables, regarding Thrawn, and then I have a few prompts for you. Take the conversation where you will, and we'll wrap things up from there. First quote from 535, pretty late in the book. Samacro says, "Trust was what made a warship function. Trust between the commander and his officers, trust among the officers themselves. Knowing one another's strengths, knowing one another's commitments was what let them charge confidently into battle. It was what let them face off against the fleet of giant alien warships without hesitation or qualm. It was especially what enabled them to win." Okay, later on, Samacro again, he's got a lot of great thoughts and quotes about Thrawn. We have this quote: "Samacro leaned on the back of Afpria's seat and lowered his voice to a level where only the weapons officer could hear him. The end of a perfect day. What do you think?" "I think he's playing with fire, sir," Afpria said bluntly. "He has enemies in both the council and the syndicate who are just begging for an excuse to drop him down a deep hole. This could be their chance." "I know," Samacro said, "but if he's right, there may be considerably more at stake than one man's career." All right. Later on, we have Lamiov talking with Bakif, and he says, "Do you ever regret it? The path we started all those years ago? Do I regret it?" Bakif asked, "or do I regret him?" Not sure that's a different question, Lamiev said. To answer your question, no, I don't regret it. Though I'll admit there have been times when I was defending him in front of some group of syndics that I wished we'd chosen someone else. Was there anyone else? No, Bakif said, but that's the point, isn't it? There wasn't, there isn't, nor is there likely to ever be one again. So some great quotes there that give us insight into who Thrawn is, how he functions. And we see how incredibly loyal people are to Thrawn. That's a thread throughout this entire trilogy. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, here at the end of things, quote unquote, which is kind of the beginning. What a Star Wars thing to say. Yeah. What is it about Thrawn that inspires such loyalty? And on the back of that, does it take away from that concept of loyalty that, as shown in that last quote, some people considered him to be the only choice?
I think it's interesting with Thrawn as a character that he is defined by his loyalty to the Chiss Ascendancy, and yet his final sin in the eyes of his detractors is an absence of loyalty to the Chiss Ascendancy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was especially, I did go to a small panel with Timothy Zahn at C2E2 this weekend. I got to hear him talk a little bit about Thrawn, and he did mention from his own mouth that Thrawn's only goal is to protect the Chiss Ascendancy. And whatever he does, it's because he thinks that's the best way to do it. And I think on that note, he inspires a lot of loyalty because the people closest to him actually know that. They're like, oh, no matter what you do, I'm a member of the Chiss Ascendancy, so you will do whatever it takes to protect me and those that I care about, so I'm absolutely going to, give you everything I got. Additionally, I think that Thrawn is one of the most hilariously empathetic people that we see in Star Wars. I think obviously less so in the original trilogy where he was like the villain more so, but especially in the Ascendancy trilogy. Another quote from Zahn at this panel, he said, Thrawn is the smartest person in the room, but if you are willing to learn, he is willing to teach you. He doesn't care if it's Cherry as a child. He doesn't care if it's a syndic or a patriarch. He's like, I will treat you based on the intelligence you give and your willingness to learn. And I think that is so endearing to see someone as smart as him to say, oh, you're going to give me the time of day and respect. If I show you that I want to learn from you, I will die for you because you respect me.
I had this, I had this goofy thought pop up a couple times while I was reading this, and it was kind of inspired by our conversations with Steven in the last couple episodes we've had, and is I want to write a book on leadership. I want to call it something, some kind of self-help book title, like 10 Lessons in Leadership from Grand Admiral Thrawn, something like that, right? Because like that thought occurred to me several times while I was reading this, because like Timothy Zahn has, I don't know how he's figured this out. I don't know if this has come to him like naturally just because he's a brilliant writer and really good at storytelling, but he really does capture like Thrawn's leadership really, really well. I've read like a bunch of self-help books on leadership, right? Like, and there's all these different styles of leadership and goofy acronyms and all this kind of stuff, but like he somehow captures like the utter essence of leadership in Thrawn, of empathy and like a really cleanly organized system where everybody has a role and you build all this camaraderie and trust where everybody is like, he never like doubts anybody. He trusts the people that he works with like unbelievably well. Like I love that this book is like largely, in large amount of the book is told from like some macros perspective, and like the weapons officer was a big like is that Afri? How do you say his name?
There's so many officer names in this book.
Is Ephraim the weapons officer? I think he is, right? I think he was. He's got that really deep voice in the audiobook, but like he was a major character, and like Thrawn just always gets everybody's opinion, which is weird to everybody as soon as they meet Thrawn. Like he's like, why does this admiral give a shit what I think? But like, I don't know, like his leadership is just so inspiring. He's so utterly focused on the mission of like there's no, we have all these character flaws in leadership and all these other characters in this book, right? Of like Rosku and all these, like Rosku is the ultimate terrible leader, right? Like she makes all these awful mistakes all the way through the book. And like Thrawn is the complete opposite of that. He listens to people he works with. He trusts their opinion. He has this very much like collaborative, like problem solving, like style. And it's utterly brilliant. And like it's impossible to walk away from the book. And it seems like it's impossible for all the characters that really know Thrawn to walk away from dealing with him without thinking that he's the obvious solution to all the problems, right? Like anybody who doesn't trust Thrawn is a moron. That's how everybody in the book feels. That's how you as the reader feel. Like he just has proven himself time and time and again. And he's just an utterly brilliant leader. And like, I love the character now. Like I am more excited. You know, I will freely admit I did roll my eyes a bit when Ahsoka in Mandalorian was like, "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" I'm like, "Oh God, this is a Filoni-verse. It's beautiful. It is at times a little cringy, but I am backtracking. I'm eating what is it? Eating crow? Is that what you say?
Yeah.
I'm eating crow now.
You're eating semi-crow. Yes,
I am. I'm eating Filoni crow, and I freely admit that I'm wrong, and I'm very excited to see what they do with this character in the grand scheme of Star Wars because I love him. He is such a great character, and the last thing I'll say, kind of about this and his leadership and why everybody is loyal to him is I feel like, you know, we have commonly kind of complained about like the sort of explaining thing that Thrawn does as a very like characteristic pattern of like this thing happens, everybody's like, "Oh God, what are you gonna do?" And then Thrawn just explains it. Like that happens over and over again in all the Thrawn
obviously
books.
this was gonna happen.
Exactly. Yeah. I think Tim Zahn like has figured out the balance of that like absolutely brilliantly in this book. Like it doesn't feel like it's in your face at all. And I don't know if we're seeing the character development of Thrawn because I don't know if we actually are because he's been around for so long, or if Zahn just got better at telling that aspect of his story or what, but it feels like he is developed as a character now. Like this is Thrawn, his morals and values and everything. You understand him now. So
yeah,
I feel like
he's grown as Zahn has probably. Sorry, Wes.
Yeah,
sure.
I feel like he mentors without even trying, without even giving it much effort.
Yeah.
So he's teaching people along the way, and that's probably why they kind of grasp on to being a lot more loyal than they originally would be. Just like example of Cheery, he like helped her navigate on the one mission in the prior book, and she brought that up in this book. About like, why can't we go with Senior Captain Thrawn? Why can't we go hang out with him? Kind of stuff. And it's hard to grasp the loyalty from a child. They either like you or they don't. And I think he mentors people and he teaches them kind of,
right.
I mean, that's his ability that he is, I don't know that he's very aware of, but he does it like without even thinking about it.
I'm glad you brought that up. The Cheery thing, that was brilliant. I love that. Was like one of my favorite scenes in the book, and when everything depended on Cheery, and she was even loyal to Thrawn. The freaking 10-year-old girl was ultimately loyal to Thrawn. I love that, Wes. Good point.
And I think Angelina in the chat brings up a great point. Says very anxious that they're going to make the character in the show like cartoon villainy, right? And I think that if all you know of Thrawn is Rebels, you might not see as much of this. But I think that Filoni is really good at taking evil characters, and their third act is the redemption, right? I mean, you think of Callus and Rebels. You think of like all these characters that have gotten this turn with this much text about his empathy and about his leadership. I personally think that the best use of him, hopefully, is it's the Loki thing. It's the last night the villain joins the heroes, and I think Ahsoka going to find him. Hopefully we get more of this Ascendancy Thrawn, because I do agree, as you guys are saying, this is the most interesting version of that character that incorporates that empathy, that incorporates that teaching, and that everyone is going to be loyal to. If Ezra is stuck with him for 6 months on an asteroid, he's going to be loyal to him too.
Thrawn is, I really like how you brought up that they changed how he kind of taught people, how he spoke with people. He is that teacher that we probably all had, that we hated in the moment because we were like, I don't understand this. What is the answer? And they're like, no. Yeah. Work through it, and we're going to figure out where you're going wrong, and then you're going to actually learn the thing. And you're like, no, what is 9 times 9? And And in hindsight, those are the people that teach you the most because, it's the whole give a man a fish, teach a man a fish thing, right?
Mhm.
So I thought that was pretty incredible as well. I like everything I had to say. I want to ask you the flip question of what I just asked you based on another quote from page 538. And it's from this is practically the very end when Thrawn is at this tribunal and he's asked, have you anything further to say in your defense before your sentence is passed? No, Supreme Admiral, Thrawn said. His voice was even, almost calm. But Bakif could hear the pain there, the frustration and weariness. He'd fought so long and so hard in the Ascendancy's defense, only to have his dedication turned against him. So on that flip side of that question, Thrawn is treated pretty horribly by the majority of the people who have any power in the Ascendancy.
Yeah.
What is it then about it that keeps him so loyal to the Ascendancy? Yeah. He doesn't seem to agree with the practices that made the Ascendancy what it is. He doesn't seem to agree with the vast majority of the people who are running the Ascendancy itself. So why in the world is he letting himself be exiled, going to a lesser space, putting himself through the horrible things that happened to him, going through the Empire? Why is he doing all that for this thing, this entity that rejects him?
It's the leadership, man. It's the 10 lessons in leadership from Grand Admiral Thrawn. This is the number one. You guys listen, you guys know like one of my favorite, maybe my favorite book. My favorite book of all time is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. It's Lessons in Leadership by a Navy SEAL. And it's shaped my life. Holy crap. The principles that put forward is unbelievable in those books. You should read them sometime. Not Star Wars advice. There you go. You get it right here. One of the key lessons in leadership that they talk about in that book, which I fully believe and preach and practice, is like the mission. The mission is the primary goal always, right? And like if you ever lose sight of that, then you've lost all ability to be a leader whatsoever. And Thrawn understands the mission better than all the other people in charge of the Ascendancy. That's why he's still loyal, because like he's such a purist. Like he understands that the mission is to protect the Ascendancy. That's why he lives and exists. Like the fact that his eyes glaze over and he talks about like, I will do anything, even the darkest thing possible, if that's what it takes to protect the Ascendancy, right? So like, I mean, I get it. I get that like it's frustrating and stuff that the Syndicate always doesn't see it, but like Thrawn does see it, and I think that's what makes him such a likable characters. I think we see and understand that that like the hero is the most important character, and only they are capable of finding the solution, right? And that story is powerful, and it's been in Star Wars forever.
Well, and I think like, and this might be a stretch, but as you were talking there, Charles, the first thing that came into my head is like, well, why did people of color volunteer to fight in World War II? Because like this is a country. The mission. They understand the mission. Like this is, it was a country that would say you're not worthy. We hate you. You don't get the rights that the people do, and yet there was something bigger to it. And obviously, that's a much more complicated issue. But it just sounds like, there's that idea that sometimes, even though there is an unjust system, there are people fighting against you. You are such a bigger person and full of compassion for your people, for your countrymen, for whatever it may be. That's the definition of the non-toxic version of patriotism, a non-toxic version of loyalty. It's not nationalism, it's patriotism. Because Thrawn is like, I am not beholden to the patriarchs. He breaks all the rules of the Ascendancy as well. He loves it, but he's like, if these rules suck, I'm not going to follow them. Because I am beyond that. I am beyond the corrupt practices of men that don't understand this place that I love, that didn't name me a myth originally, that didn't want to accept me, that is going to exile me. Whatever, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, what I'm doing is so much more important. And I think that story is everlasting throughout all of human history. There's always been people that have fought for places that aren't going to respect them because they know life is bigger than them. And I think Thrawn, and I think, as we said earlier, the people that see Thrawn see that in him. And how can you not be loyal to someone that's going to do that?
Yeah, it's true.
And maybe he's loyal to the Ascendancy because they're the ones that provided him that place in power, I guess. So if they hadn't gone through and I guess, elevate him to these either not the 9 or the 40, then he could have been somewhere off doing something else, something along the same lines of maybe like leading, but not doing military leadership in a heightened status to where he could actually make a difference. So maybe there's a small part of that there as well.
Yeah, I like that. It was the same stale regime that actually put him in the position to make the difference that he's making. That's a cool thought. Well, let's jump to another quote here about Thrawn reflecting on his traumatic past. And I'm going to ask Wes to cue something up here in a minute that I think we'll enjoy. This is a little surprise for everybody. The quote says this: "Some losses run too deep to ever fully heal." Thrast studied his face, noting the fresh tension lines in his cheeks and throat. "You sound like you've had experience." Thrawn shrugged slightly. "No more than many others in the Ascendancy have suffered," he said, the tension lines smoothing out. "Though it took conscious effort," Thrast saw. "Whatever pain was lurking behind those eyes, it wasn't going away anytime soon." And before we discuss the source of the pain that is behind those eyes, those red eyes, I want to take a second to play some audio from the earliest roundtable that the Living Force podcast has on YouTube.
No.
Yes, it was actually it was first on Facebook Live. It was not even on YouTube at the time because it was August 30th of 2018 when we reviewed Thrawn Alliances. And let's just play the clip and I'll comment on it afterwards. So Wes, whenever you're ready.
Was Thrawn force sensitive? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I thought it said they had to be all female. Is that not true?
It's that they're most commonly are female.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Maybe I almost wonder if it's maybe a step further than himself. Maybe it's a daughter or a sibling or something of that nature.
So that was the earliest roundtable.
Holy crap! How did you freaking find that?
I remember everything you've ever said to me, Corey. Help me. Careful.
God.
Oh no.
No, I thought that was really cool because there's a quote from I believe it was actually Thrawn Treason where it was first kind of insinuated that something involving the Skywalkers had to do intimately with Thrawn himself, and we talked about it from the very beginning. Corey, I wanted to give you a shout out for saying way back when that it may have been a sibling, because as we learn in this book, Thrawn's got a sister.
Yeah.
Right. We went into this from Legends thinking Thrawn has a brother. Maybe he kind of does have a brother. We're going to get to that. But he has a sister, and his sister was Borica. And wow, how crazy was that reveal? Let's talk about her. I want to know, did that have an impact on you? Like, did it, and beyond that, besides it having an impact on you as a reader, did it make sense that it had such an impact on Thrawn that even years down the line, when we're in the first Thrawn trilogy, the canon Thrawn trilogy, that he's still looking back wistfully, essentially, on the time that he had with this long lost sister?
Yeah. That was awesome.
I do remember having that conversation. I've had it in the back of my mind that we speculated, somebody did, we did, or something did that their Thrawn had a sister, and maybe that was a Skywalker or something like that. But I didn't know that was my original thought. Holy crap!
Yeah.
Did you remember that I said that? How did you find that audio quote?
No, I remembered just that we talked about it, and so I went back and looked, and I was really disappointed to find out it was you.
Oh my God!
I didn't want to give you this credit live on the air, but I had to.
Both Heather and Kate were in that round table as well.
My God.
Wow. Man.
I want to call Stephanie Mack in our chat here because she says exactly what I felt during this. Said I cried when Borica refused to see Thrawn, saying there's no point. I don't remember him. Yeah. And I think what a brilliant move as a writer to give us this reveal, but not allow us the closure of the meet because it's physically impossible. Like, it reminds me of like the Black Widow training facility, like what they do, like, with the in Marvel. It's like, oh, it's so horrendous, but now there's a future for it, but the cost is that relationship and seeing how much Thrawn wanted to find her, and then we as readers got what Thrawn doesn't, and it's just like it was very hard, and I thought a really great move thematically and one of the biggest emotional gut punches Zahn has ever written for me.
Yeah. I mean, I did expect that to be the case. Like when they were building it up to it in the story, like I kind of saw it coming. I thought the reveal was very good. I think it made the conversation that Thalius kind of initiated about like maybe we should stop this kind of traumatizing thing that we do as the Chiss Ascendancy. It made that a more powerful argument that even like this researcher, this leader of that program is like also kind of a result of that, and she even feels emotionally impacted by it, right?
Yeah.
So like I thought that made the point like hit harder, and I thought it was brilliant writing. I kind of want to know what else happens with her as a character now. Like I could see this as a sort of a side plot that is never expanded on. I would be kind of surprised if we ever learn anything else about this, to be honest. But
I agree.
But
I'd like it, but I don't think so.
I think I would enjoy it a lot. I mean, I think it's a very interesting and emotional thing that this alien race in Star Wars. Like, how deep of a cut is this, by the way? Holy crap. Like, this is like the movies, beyond the movies, this character, sister of the character of this alien race that the character is, and this weird traumatizing thing that they do. And we all want to learn more about it. Like, that is brilliant writing on Zahn's part to build all that up like that. It's really good. Really, really good.
Did Zahn ever allude to Thrawn having a sister before this book or before this trilogy?
I think so.
I think in this trilogy he did. I think in the last book, in the Greater Good, because the Greater Good came out, what, 3 weeks ago, 8 months ago, who knows? I'm pretty sure Greater Good talked about it, because when it came out, I was like, I'm Thrawn's sister. My thought was, that's the sister, not, wait, he has a sister, and that's that. I feel like there was a preamble to it.
Okay.
Earlier,
but it wasn't in the first canon trilogy, right? Or was it?
No, because I think that's what we were.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Charles, you just listened to our roundtable, so
yeah, no, there were quotes about that he had. Basically, the quote that really jumped out from the first canon Thrawn trilogy. He said something along the lines of like, to make the Ascendancy what it is, like the Chiss themselves have to make sacrifices, and like we've all had to make these sacrifices, and.
Yep.
They noticed that he was talking about something that seemed very personal. That was really the only inclination that trilogy gave us. This is the trilogy that really fleshed out what.
Yeah,
what
chat's got us. We got 3 people saying Chaos Rising. So yes, it was Chaos Rising.
Okay,
thanks, guys.
Yeah, I do remember it, but I don't think he ever actually did. He actually verbalize that I have a sister and she was a Skywalker. Did that actually get verbalized?
He said about having a sister. I remember the word sister. But yes, thank you all. For knowing more than we do.
Is that you, sister? Sister? Sorry.
Sister. You have a sister.
So we'll talk more about the sister herself later on, probably in part 2 of the roundtable. But while Thrawn may have lost a sister, he did kind of gain a brother, right? Page 548. Here's a quote for you. This is right after Thrawn has been told that he is going to be exiled. He's meeting with Bakif, and Bakif is like, "Hey, bro, you want to go get lunch before no one ever sees you again?" And Thrawn says, "There's a bistro where Thrast and I used to meet. I'd like to spend my last evening on Chila remembering him," which is pretty heartbreaking.
It is.
Yeah.
And surprisingly wholesome. I think I texted you guys that. I was like, the ending of this book was surprisingly wholesome in the best way possible.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
It was.
And as we transition from Thrawn to Thrast, because that's where we're going here, I want to know, why do you all feel that Thrast was so important to Thrawn? Why did that brother relationship mean so much?
So we've had a lot of people tell Thrawn along the way. This is what I loved about this character. We've had a lot of people tell Thrawn along the way that he's not good at politics, right? Like he's not good at social interactions. He doesn't understand sarcasm, all those classic tropes, right? That's been throughout this every Thrawn book in canon has been heavy with this, right? Thrast is the only person that is like been able to tell it in a way that Thrawn understands. Right? Like he talks about it just so like he doesn't even mean to teach Thrawn lessons, but there was that whole bar fight that happened and the big lesson that they took away from it.
Love
like
that.
like he shows Thrawn that he's not very good at politics. He doesn't just tell him, and like he's the only person that Thrawn has listened to so far about it. The only other thing I would make a point about too is I really enjoyed the memories. Every time it in the audiobook, it's like special. There's like a little sound effect, and it goes memories. Yeah, it's a little thing that happens. So you're like, oh, cool, this is gonna be fun.
Before like, ooh,
I know, yeah, it was
special
good.
treat.
I really enjoyed the way it was set up, and it was very good. It wasn't just classic flashbacks. Like it was a little audiobook thing they did, and it was very good. Thrast and oh crap, the point I was trying to make was Thrast was teaching Thrawn. I really enjoyed that Thrawn was very obviously not good at it. And this is what I'm talking about. This is like Zahn's dissertation is like young Thrawn was captured perfectly of like not being able to understand what the hell is going on. Like he just like looks around like he doesn't understand that. He just like in Thrast would comments and on his internal dialogue would be like, why doesn't he get this? It's right in front of his face. Like,
yeah.
And young Thrawn would be like, what? Like, he would actually say things that just didn't make any damn sense. It was funny. So like to be able to see young Thrawn compared to older Thrawn and the way that he like points out the obvious things that are happening was very well done. And it is like, it's very obvious that there is a problem with the way that young Thrawn talks to the world around him, like compared to the older one. Like it's very much on the nose. So I liked it a lot.
Yeah, they're very complimentary of each other, and that compliment helped to allow Thrawn to learn those different like little political situations that he kind of understands, but he doesn't voice it. He understands a little bit more after being with Thrast over those I don't know however many years.
Yeah, I Thrast's parts were some of, if not my favorite parts of this book. I thought their dialogue, their scenes together were so tender and also just so well written that I legit through most of the book, and I'm still not wholeheartedly convinced it wasn't like this. Like I absolutely read a slight homosexual relationship between the two of them. I got like legit like date like. They went out on dates, like straight up, and I know they were like brother, like it's a brotherly relationship, and it doesn't become romantic. But
Star
a lot
Wars
of times,
allows that.
They do.
There's a playful, almost flirty nature to a lot of the conversation,
especially early on.
That was apparent in the audiobook too. I felt like
yeah,
I never felt like it was romantic. Really, is not how I saw it, but it does have that sort of. That playful, flirty thing, right? And
I think the thing, like, cause we never see, and why that jumped out with me so much. And I know a lot of a lot of queer people queer code Star Wars characters that are like, well, if they're not say that they're queer, I can project enough because you can pick out things to convince yourself, and like you could absolutely do that here. But we never in any Thrawn book in 30 years. See him do this kind of thing with anyone else of any gender, any species. So I think that's why it jumped out so much for me with Thrawn. I'm like, or with Thrast rather, like, oh my God, y'all are playful. Like I've never seen Thrawn playful in 3 decades of books, and it was so fun.
My wife talks about the concept of play is a really interesting concept, and like she talks about that in therapy all the time. Is like it's such an like she says, I've heard Caitlin say that she can recognize the success of a relationship in a couple, like based on their ability to play, right? If you lose the ability to play, and the concept of play is actually a pretty philosophical concept, but if you lose the ability to play, then like you sort of lose the ability to love in a lot of ways, right? So like, in Thrawn, we've never seen him be so, I don't know, playful. Like I love the board game analogy that happened throughout the whole book was kind of there, and it's like
they played Tactica.
Yeah. Oh my God, let's make a board game out of that and call it Tactica. That sounds fantastic.
Like I mean, you have all these people in this book, and I think every single person, as we said earlier, that's loyal to Thrawn would call him an icon, would follow him into battle, but like no one's texting Thrawn on a Friday being like, dude, where you at? Let's go. Like, except for Thrast.
Thrast is
the one that
was so good.
He's that guy in college that's kicking on your door, be like, dude, you've been studying for 3 days. Get your coat, get your shit. We're going to the club. No, shut up. We're going. And he's absolutely that guy. And I loved them. And every time there was a time jump, you saw them get tighter and tighter and tighter. So that quote that you just read, Charles, that obviously, as Angelia says in the chat, was crying as they read it. Like, what a beautiful way to remember your best and kind of only real friend. Of like, pretending that I'm with him on my last night is better than actually being with anyone else.
Yeah.
So
beautiful.
Yeah. I love everything you guys are saying. Let's kind of formally transition this to Thrast, because I have some quotes I want to read about him as well. And we can keep kind of talking about that relationship, because it's interesting to inspect it, I think, from both sides, what Thrawn sees from it and what Thrast sees from it. So page 114, this is talking about Thrast. He frowned, a sudden thought occurring to him. He'd noted in Thurfian that personal antagonism toward an individual could be detrimental to family loyalty. But was the opposite also true? Could Thrast's friendship with Thrawn be clouding his own loyalty to the family in exactly the same way? He gave a little huff. No, of course not. Friendship and kinship were the whole basis of family, after all. Without those connections, the structure would collapse into a mass of individuals striving against one another for personal gain. Later on, we have Patriarch Thuraki say, the two of you combine impressive political and military skills, which will put the myth in position to influence future decisions in both the Syndicate and the Council. We've been watching the two of you for a long time, Thrast. Thrawn, since General Bakif was alerted to point him out to your colleague, Syndic Thurfian, you from your birth. No one forces friendship or brotherhood on anyone. I merely noted how well you and Thrawn got along, how your interests meshed, how comfortable he was with you. As you may have noticed, he's not particularly comfortable with many people. And then lastly, in Thrast's final moments, he thinks this: may warriors' fortune smile on our efforts, and if not on theirs, he added silently, perhaps warriors' fortune would smile on Thrawn, the man who was and who had always truly been his brother. So
God,
that
it's gonna
last
be misty
bit,
just you reading it, man.
I know, man. It's
know.
good. It's like it's. And I think that
Great.
you know, we kind of went on this weird vibe, like tangent with Thrawn and this romantic possible relationship. But like, I think the brother analogy is a intimate type of relationship that is beyond.
You are my brother, Anakin.
Yeah,
that
like,
line.
Come
It's
on.
beyond. It's beyond just friendship, and I loved that. I loved that it was like, so we haven't talked about this yet, but when they name dropped the whole brother thing, it was like a family thing to make a situation like come together and that sort of thing.
Yes.
I loved that Zahn had Thrawn be the character to bring it back up. Like it wasn't Thrast that brought it back up. It was Thrawn that brought it back up. And he like had reflected on that. Like it's obvious, like I think Thrast even said something along the lines of like, Thrawn is like oblivious to the world and politics, all this. So I didn't think he even noticed, right? But he obviously did, and he's reflected on it for a long time. Like it kind of seemed like it was years between the time periods and when she brought it back up, right? So
Right.
I love that Thrawn was the one that did it.
I 100% agree with you, because Thrawn is the kid sitting by himself in elementary school in the cafeteria, and Thrast was the guy who was like, come sit with me and my friends.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. What a great
I
analogy.
want that as
means
an
so
animated
much.
short on This Week in Star Wars.
I do not care that
No.
you smell like pee. Come over here and hang out with us.
No, but really, I mean, Thrawn was, his entire life was kind of being pushed away by people. Thrast not only welcomed him in, but like claimed Thrawn. He's like, that's my boy. Like, that's my brother.
Yeah.
And like,
Boy.
that
He's
meant
his
so much.
duos partner. Come on, Wes, you get it. Thrawn and Thrast play duos. They absolutely drop in together.
And they get pissed off whenever they don't play with each other. It's like, oh, you play without me? You better been playing
then
solo.
Thrawn logs in on Xbox Live when he's in the Empire, and then he looks and it says Thrast offline. And he's just been offline for years, and that just hits him every time.
God, dude.
It's the final time they played.
Rough.
All
That
right,
was
well,
rough.
Well, I'm curious, as we kind of talk about Thrast here, what led Thrast to name Thrawn his brother? Do you think, like, what really was it? Like, yes, there's the tactical advantage of having Thrawn on your
in
side.
the moment, right?
Right. But what led him to really name him like, no, this is my brother? And how did you view that development with how it was done here in canon in lieu of the fact that Thrast was actually Thrawn's brother in Legends.
I have a short answer.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, my short one is, I think the beauty and harshness simultaneously of the Chiss Ascendancy is that family is a business arrangement. That the brilliance of this trilogy is that we learned family is Game of Thrones style. You become a family, you apply, you steal, so it is neutralized. But because it's neutralized, it's also secretly the thing that means the most. So he's like, what is the most honorific thing I can call my best friend, my essentially soul companion? I'm going to take back the idea of brother. It's not political. It's not military. It is actually, you're the only person that I will call brother in the traditional meaning of family. And I'm like, and I think that he's like, that's the only word. It is the highest honorific he can get because the Ascendancy tried to strip it down and he reclaims it for Thrawn and Thrast.
Yeah, I think it originated in that first time that we see Thrast meet that other family representative. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like in that there's that bar scene, and the first time where they're meeting, and he's like, why should Thrawn listen to you? And Thrast is like, he reflected on it for a moment, and he's like, well, he's my friend. That's why. Like he's we're friends. We care about each other. And the other guy was like, what the hell do I do with this? Like he had no idea.
Friendship.
Exactly. He had no idea what to do with a business situation. I think he almost like he projected that early on, in which like he started to believe it, and like he actually did enjoy getting to know Thrawn and get inside his crazy head. And I don't know, like it became a relationship out of necessity, but then it developed into something more than that, I think.
Yeah.
And Thrast feels like one of the only characters in the history of Thrawn to like actually understand Thrawn beyond just like a tactical level.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. And he's not out looking to, I mean, I guess they all are. They're all looking to build up their family, but I mean, it's like they're more for the relationship than they were for being part of the Nine, being like trying to be the highest part of the Nine or something. They're trying to get to know each other and before anything other than that.
You know what I realized as we're talking about this? Because this is one of our most like emotional chats and emotional, I think, talks about character relationships we've had all year. And the two, I think, strongest relationships we've had this year are Thrawn and Thrast, and then Elzar and Stellan. Because it's very similar. They're both in structures that are very much anti-connection, are not about blood relationships, but when it comes down to it, you will be there for your brother. And like at the end, when Elzar's like, Stellan, I messed up, Stellan's like, I'm not a council member, I'm not a Jedi, my brother needs help, I will help you.
Yes.
And it's exactly the same with Thrast and Thrawn. And you know what I always say, guys? Writers write for the times in which they live. Maybe we all just need a goddamn friend, okay?
Strip away the titles. Strip away all the titles.
Guys,
this person
just tell your brothers you love them, man. Hate you so much.
Wow.
I
hate you so much. I hate you guys.
I mean, I'm here out of a business decision and no other reason. All right, that's the only reason why we're here.
Right.
Corey is the Chiss out of all of us for what that's worth.
Oh my god.
Well, let's move from this talk of brotherhood. I'd like to kind of pivot and talk about some of the women in this trilogy, in this book in particular. And I want to talk about Thalius and Sherry together as a team, because they really are a team, right? Here's a quote for you from page 530. Thalius says, "I said I'd be with you the whole way," Thalius reminded her as she took the girl's hand, "and I will, even if it takes forever." "Yes," Thalius promised quietly, a chill running up her back, "even if it takes forever." And this pair had a really interesting journey in this book. They've had a very strong bond, really from the very beginning of Chaos Rising up through this novel. But this book, they really kind of broke out of just being members of the Springhawk crew, and they really had an impact on a larger story, or it very much seems like they're going to.
Yeah.
They're not only exploring the past of what it means to be a Skywalker, but they're pushing the boundaries of what the abilities are of Skywalkers, period, as they're understood. So I'm curious with this, did this storyline regarding the Skywalkers hold enough weight for you, knowing there's currently nothing involving them at this point in the future? And did you feel like where we left Thalius and Cherry at the end of this book did justice for their story up to that point? Like, were you happy with where things ended for them?
Ooh, that's a
Oh
good,
yeah,
That's a good question.
they're
like
awesome.
that.
I mean, basically you get the dream scenario of like, oh, when you're a kid, I idolize my babysitter. I wish we could hang out and do adventures forever. That happens. And then it becomes like, oh,
I hated
wait,
my babysitter.
you're telling me, well, hypothetically, you're telling me two women discover the dark secret of mostly a male-dominated species and end it with a teaser scene of like, all right, let's burn it to the ground. That's amazing. Like I don't know if we have anything else with them, but the two of them going with Thrawn's sister to be like, they've been taking our memories. Time to take it down. Like,
The
and
hell
also,
with the patriarchy. Really,
Like-
literally.
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
with the patriarchs. Like, it is them being like, I'm stronger than you. I can touch the force in a way no Chiss has ever done ever, and I'm
Right,
12.
right.
And
It
also
seems like-
it's incredible. I love
It seems
them.
like Thalius is like slowly figuring out that maybe she can get that. Is like,
Yeah,
what
that
the
was-
hell? That's a
Yeah,
big
that was
reveal.
interesting.
Yes.
That was very interesting. I like
Yes.
that a lot.
Especially
that
Yeah.
moment where she thought that Thrawn was referred to as the Guardian. You remember that? And
Dude,
and
that was
Cherry
blown
was like,
over, man.
Yeah, Cherry was
I never
like, I
said
don't
that.
remember telling you that. And she was like, how did I know that? Like, is the
Yeah.
Major sending me
I know.
thoughts too? That was incredible.
Yeah. They're just so cool.
It's a
Yeah,
great
I
pair.
like it a lot. I mean, we didn't get as much development with Cheery and Thalius in this book, which I thought was okay. But I think we finished it in a really good place. I feel like.
Yeah. More than in 2. Cause I did miss them in Greater Good. I like Chaos Rising. Thalius was definitely the co-protagonist. Greater Good, it became more with Lakinda at that point than Zanda. And then this one, I felt like they evened it out a smidge more because, the Skywalker plotline weirdly had nothing to do with Thrawn. So to by the end of it, right? He literally wasn't there.
Yeah.
So to do an entire plotline about what the Force means in the Chiss Ascendancy secretly within a Thrawn trilogy, like underneath the Thrawn chapters, I'm like, dang, that could have been a trilogy. Just
it's a whole-
discovering what the
that's
Force
another
is.
Yeah.
Really good deep cut too. I also really like, this is a subtle point, but I really like that Qilori figured it out at the very end.
That was cool.
Like, what
that
the
was really cool.
Skywalkers, what
Yeah.
the Skywalkers do, and like what is he gonna do with that information? Like
That's
that is that is interesting. I'm excited to talk about Qilori at some point.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot. This is gonna be
No,
next time.
he'll
but,
be
like,
next week, but
Next week.
that shifty bastard.
I
I'm
know.
Yep.
he reminds me of the blue guy in the Mandalorian that keeps
Yeah, he
surviving
does.
stuff.
He definitely
Yeah,
does.
dude, that's how I
yeah,
picture
yeah.
him.
I'm just here.
Bobby
I don't
Moynihan.
know.
I liked how Thalius got more and more confidence throughout this trilogy, and she got
Yeah.
super confident, super
To the point
confident
that
to
she
the-
pulled a Shark on the
Absolutely.
patriarch of her
Dude, she
family.
pulled a gun on him,
And
man.
I'm
Like,
glad,
what the hell?
I'm glad y'all brought that up. And this was more along the lines of what the audiobook brings in terms of listening and the background music. So I'm going to play this and hopefully everybody can hear it. But
The volcano option. Only this time it's more personal. She put her hand into her side jacket pocket and wrapped her fingers around the hard, cold metal concealed there. Your death and mine. Right here. Right now. The
I mean-
volcano option.
it's
Wow.
amazing.
Jeez.
Just that.
I know, dude.
That
yeah,
music.
yeah, I'm telling you, the audiobook productions, if you've never been convinced, holy crap, you have to listen to the music is unbelievably good. Holy crap.
And that I compared that. That's just with Anakin, like just about ready to fight Obi-Wan, and I had to
God,
turn
yeah.
the mower off and go back and pull out my phone and screenshot that one instance so I could come back and get that clip so I could play it because it was so impactful But I was like, no way she pulled out a Chark and was like, listen.
I did not see that shit coming at all
No!
either when I got to that. That was
whole-
like, holy crap, he's just
Neither
going to
did
kill
the
him.
rest.
That whole sequence, and that she
Or
got
Thurfian.
the buy-in from one of Thurfian's like security guards
Yeah.
to like
Exactly.
just to sit there and shut up and like make everybody else sit there as well. Amazing. I mean, Mark Thompson is a genius, just like Angelia said in the chat.
I mean, like, you get to the point where this trilogy with Thalius and Cherry, Thalius starts as like, I'd like to meet Thrawn. I think he's cool, to like, I have climbed the mountain of the myth and I will shoot you in cold blood. And then we get Cherry, who's like, I'm tired, I want a fruit snack, to like, I embody the soul of the Magus, I'm committing mutiny. Like,
Command the Force.
like,
I know.
the
It's really
journey, like,
good.
yeah,
Their journey
Thrawn
has
goes
been
on a
very,
big
very good. This trilogy has been as much about Thalius and Cheery as it has been everybody else. Like it's
Easily.
it's so good.
I love that. From juice boxes to mutiny. The story of Cherry.
New shirt coming soon.
The new short on Star Wars Kids.
I wish that we could talk a little bit more about them, but I really want to touch on one more character before we close things out for tonight. It's a really good transition point. I almost skipped this character altogether. Y'all can even see in the outline, it's actually all highlighted in red text because we almost skipped this entirely. But it's important, I think, to talk about this quickly. So
Absolutely.
Roscoe, I want to talk about this character because her journey was really important. I think in understanding Thrawn, it provides a nice different point of view. And it was a new character for this book, right? Anytime you're in the third act of a story and you introduce someone new, you're kind of like, whoa, what is this? Like, how could this be important? Yeah, but it was. So from page 298, here's a quote for you. No, the captain and the first officer shouldn't have secrets between them, unless those secrets were dark and shameful, such as the true reason Roscoe had left the expansionary defense fleet, not out of some high-minded protest against Thrawn and Aralani, but because a month after the Garwian incident, Roscoe had herself been brought up on charges for a minor protocol infraction. It had been a small lapse, certainly far milder than the crime Thrawn had committed. Only in her case, no one came to her defense. No one worked tirelessly to clear her name. In the end, all they did was offer her the choice between official discipline and quiet departure. She'd chosen the latter and had never regretted it. And then had come Pleknok. The fact that the Qilor had emerged from that incident more or less intact didn't matter. The fact that no one had died and the family had even managed to save face didn't matter. What mattered was that the myth and the Stibla knew the truth about Pleknok. They knew what her part had been, and they knew how she'd failed, just like she'd failed to hold on to a position in the expansionary defense fleet. Worst of all, Thrawn knew. There was a score that needed to be settled between her family and Thrawn's. So even though Roscoe sucked for the majority of this book, even if you didn't always like her as a character, were you sympathetic to her story about Thrawn's special treatment? Because here they are in her eyes, mind you, even if you don't agree that this was an objective representation of what happened, in her eyes, they both committed infractions to Chiss Ascendancy protocols. She gets kicked out of the military. Thrawn gets his rear end covered time and time and time and time again. Do you understand where she's coming from? How the Ascendancy and the people within it can grow to resent Thrawn as a figure.
Yeah, totally. And because this leads into what Angelia just said in the chat, this moment about Roscoe. Yeah, Wes, you see it. At one point, Rutro gets Roscoe to totally diss Aralani while she's like on speakerphone
Dude, that
with
shit was
Aralani.
Totally
hilarious,
baiting.
man.
Totally
And
baiting.
it was amazing because I think what Roscoe realizes is that you can try to do what Thrawn does, but if you are not as good at it as Thrawn, which, spoiler, no one is, you will fail and suck. And I think that's what Roscoe thinks is like, Roscoe wants to basically beat Thrawn and get away with a lot of stuff, but just straight up isn't as good at it
She's
for
not
a bunch
smooth.
of reasons.
Not as smooth.
And is like always frustrated by it. Also, the Qilor family, I'm like, this family sucks. Like, they're
Dude, this
just
sucks so hard. Oh my god. Mark Thompson's portrayal of everybody in the Qilor was phenomenal. The accent that he gave, like Roscoe, was just like she was so much like in your face of like, this family sucks. Everything about them sucks. Like every decision she made everywhere along the way was awful. Like, and this whole minor incident at Pleknock was not a minor incident.
No,
she was straight up gonna steal a whole ship full of cargo from this other family. And isn't she? Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't she like part of the like Expeditionary Defense Fleet at that time? She is, right?
She is, because she gets kicked
Yeah,
out.
kicked out.
Yeah. So she like straight up breaks all the no family politics in the fleet, like stuff. Like I mean, she's very much part of the Qilor family, even at that moment.
Yeah.
So I was
But
like,
you gotta
no,
do it for the
screw
right
this,
reasons.
screw this lady. Like she sucks.
Yeah. Well, and you
But
keep mentioning Mark Thompson, and real quick, we haven't talked about this in months, but I saw Stephanie said, gotta get on the audiobooks. You're absolutely right. And you know where you can do that? utini.com/audible. If you've never tried the audiobooks, go to utini.com/audible, sign up. You get your first book on us for free, no matter what it is. And you can cancel it after that if it's not your thing.
It's a
and you get to
trial.
keep-
It's a
but
trial.
also
You start the trial, but you cancel it. I mean, you can do that
keep
after
the
the first
book.
month. It's fine.
But
Yeah,
then
you keep the book.
If only you want this book, you can do that. But honestly, once you start Audible, you're not going to want to cancel it. utini.com/audible. Get this for free, or get Fallen Star for free on your first book. We haven't plugged that in forever, but that is still live. Anyway, Wes, go ahead.
Well, I don't even know. Oh, didn't Roscoot, swing it all the way back around? She was she was the one that came back as part of Thrawn's party, right at the very end.
Yep.
Where
Yeah.
she came back to not.
I do appreciate that.
Navarre, but
I do appreciate that
outside
she's
Navarre.
good enough of a leader that like there was that scene with the asteroid and like Arlani was trying to save her ass or whatever and she immediately flipped.
She calls her a blithering ass, I think, over the comm.
Yeah, it's
There's a lot of ass. There's a lot
incredible.
of hell going on.
It's
in here.
incredible.
It's so good. She's just like utterly stunned into silence. Like I'm like, holy crap! Did she just say that like live on the bridge? Like everybody heard it. Yeah, I love that she immediately flipped. She analyzed the situation. Was like, holy shit, I'm absolutely in the wrong. Let me change gears and actually get out of this situation. Like that was beautiful, and it redeemed the character
For sure.
And like she was like likable for the rest of the book after that. But oh my god, up to that point. Dude, the best character ever because she's designed in a way in which you absolutely hate her, and like it worked really well, especially in the audiobook.
Because you know what the Thrawn trilogy, that's awful, teaches us is that, as Zahn says, if you are willing to learn and admit your mistakes, you can be a good person no matter what it is. Thrawn is willing to accept that. Roscoe is bad, and then owns up to her mistakes and then becomes better. Like, as readers, that's the lesson of Thrawn. Is like, if you are willing to listen to the smartest person in the room, you will then become the smartest person in the room. Like, that's all that is. And Roscoe is that person that is like, I'm resentful. But if you let go of that resentment and actually just try to be the best version of that person, bam, you defeat the Grisk.
Really good point, Eric.
Timely message from Eric Eilerson.
He's got to listen to the smartest people in the room, folks. It's a great way to live.
Well, I think it's a great stopping point because next week we are going to move from not just the people who disliked Thrawn, but the people who are actively working against Thrawn. And then we'll move into some overarching questions as we always do. Some Easter eggs. As always, it's going to be a good time. You don't want to miss it. For this week, though, I'm going to kick it back to Eric to take us home.
All right. Thank you, Charles. Yes, next week will be the second part of our final roundtable of 2021. And we want to end tonight's show by, again, telling you that the Utini voting is open. If you loved Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil, guess what? It's up for Book of the Year. It absolutely is. Head over to utini.com/awards, get your ballot cast, and then tune in on Monday, December 27th, when we are going to reveal the winners live on the show. It's going to be very exciting. But, of course, next week on the 20th, we'll be talking part 2. And, we're going to end this year with a bang. Maybe the most roundtables we've ever done. Maybe the most books we've had in this shorter span with this great quality, but we couldn't ask for more. Wonderful way to end the year. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thanks to all of you for listening. Because, my friends, that'll do it for this week's episode of The Living Force. You can support us on Patreon. Thank you so much. You're the reason we're able to do things like this, and we can't wait to show you what we're doing for you in 2022. A special thank you, as always, goes out to Cheryl Bell, OK Endar, Jeremy Kazina, JG Karst, Earl Q, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, and Matt Billington, Tyler Latour, Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Freddie C, and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command. You can find us on Twitter. The show is at Living Force Pod. I am at Eric Eilerson. Corey is at Doc Star Wars MD. Charles is at C. Henkel, and Wes is at Boss Wes. A special thank you to Matt Davenport, our amazing editor, Ryan, our graphic designer extraordinaire, and Wes, our producer and community manager. Thanks to Corey, Charles, and Wes for podding with me tonight. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. Go to utd.com/awards and cast your ballot today. And as always, may the Force be with you.